G'day, welcome back to another episode of Togl. This week we're starting off in my garage down in Brooklyn. The reason being is that I'm going to start constructing the first of our beehives that we want to put up on the block. Now, those of you who knew me in Canberra knew that we did have a beehive there. The type of beehive was called a Kenyan top bar hive. This is a photo of what that one looked like. We'd been keeping bees for a couple of years in Canberra. We went and did a course with Adrian Iodice. He runs a website, Natural Beekeeping. I'll put a link to that in the description. It's a fantastic way of keeping bees. I really enjoyed it. Anyway, that's what we want to build up here, is the Kenyan top bar hives. So we went out and we milled some cypress, and I'll show you that now. So we had access to some cypress trees. We grabbed the logs, we took them up to the timber mill, and we've milled slabs like this. There's a couple more over here as well. So we milled those slabs to about 1 inch thick. Then what I've done a couple of days ago was then cut the timber down even further into these pieces right here. Now these are the first pieces for the top bar hive. That's what I'm going to assemble this afternoon. So the pieces that I have currently is, this is our base. You can see that it's shaved on either end. The base will actually go that way. Then the two sides will come out at those angles. These are our two side pieces. These pieces are the ends. And these are our follower boards. So that gives you the cross section of what this Kenyan top bar hive will look like. Basically there on the end, like that. And we've cut 4 of these legs. This is all cut out of Cypress or macrocarpa. Timber smells amazing, it's really good, and the bees love it. And this is what our mill was made from back in Canberra. So let's start assembling. So the first thing that we need to do is get the sides screwed to the base. So that will be put in like that. So that the timber doesn't split, we want to pre-drill everything. Paying particular attention not to drill your fingers. Once you've done one end, then you do the other end. So now with one side fixed, both top and bottom, I now need to put the other side on. I'll do the bottom one down on the ground. Now you can start to see the shape. We have the two sides and the base, but they're only held with a screw at each end. So now I need to flip this over, put one of my templates in the middle so that I can pull it all together and then get it screwed all the way along. Okay, all secured. Now I'm not using any glue either, because glue can be toxic to bees. So try and keep it as natural as possible. This is just all untreated timber, and it's just purely drilled and screwed. Okay, now before putting the ends on, which are these squares, well rectangles I should say, before putting them on, these are what we call follower boards. The size of the hive gets expanded and contracted through the seasons. So during summertime, as the bees create more honey, these get expanded further and further out. You just move them along to make the space bigger. They can put more honeycombs in. Then as it goes through winter and they're eating some of that honey to survive, you can remove those combs once they're empty, because they're not producing any honey during the winter, and so that they've got less area to patrol and to keep warm, you move these boards back in. So these will have a bar put on top of them, but not quite yet. But to make sure that we've got these sides in the exact right distance for these boards so that they fit, we put one in, we pull the sides together, and then we screw the end on. So I'm just going to use a ratchet strap to hold this together while I screw this end on. Right, that's now held in place. Now I'll be able to screw this on the end. To do the rest of these, I'm going to stand this on its end, I think. And then I'll just repeat on the other end. So there we are. This is taking shape quite nicely. As I said, these are what we call follower boards. What I will do is I'll have two rails like this which will screw on top of those follower boards. And they enable you to be able to take them out. As I said, move them in and out. What happens is that we get a lot of these strips made up. I need to take them down to the men's shed, get them milled, sorted out. These ones need to be more precise. With this, if you've got a few little gaps and stuff, it doesn't matter. The bees will fix that up. They make a substance called propolis out of tree resin, and they'll block up any little holes that are in there. But with these, they need to be a little bit more accurate. So these bars will lay in like this. And what happens is, I need to cut a groove down the middle, and then we get paddle pop sticks, 3 of them. Dip them in melted beeswax and stick them in. This gives the bees a ridge to start to form their honeycomb on. Then these all get added like this. We put several in there to start with. And this cavity between these two boards, this is where the bees start. I need to drill some holes in the front for the bees to fly in and out of. What it means is that you can then come along very gently, move these apart, lift one of these out, and just like the picture that you're seeing now, you'll have a honeycomb on it. And then you can simply replace the bar back in, and that's why it's called a Kenyan top bar hive, because it's the top bars. It's a much more natural way for the bees to make their hive. They actually make the comb the way they would in the wild. They don't create it to a certain form like in a Langstroth or other hives. So I like it for that reason. It's much more natural. You don't get as much honey, but it's better for the bees, and I don't need a lot of honey, so this is the way that we're going to build it. And I just think they're a really remarkable looking hive. But the next thing that we need to do now is we basically build a shell very similar to this that sits on top. It comes up to a peak, as you would have seen in that photo earlier on. So that's the second half, but I haven't got enough timber milled for that yet. So basically the next stage is I just need to put the legs on, because it's just sitting up on the bench at the moment. I'll get legs on this, and then in a week or so's time I'll mill the planks I need to do the top half. I'll bring you back, might be next episode, and I'll show you how that gets done. But for now, we're going to head up the block. We'll get some work done up there. Well, we're back up at the block. It's a pretty windy, gloomy day today, so I'm not sure how much we're going to get done. There's a lot of grey clouds out there. But our plan is to try and get tin on that half of the roof line where we've already got the battens. Should we get all the tin up there and we've still got some workable weather, we'll mill up some more battens and start putting battens across this half. But at least getting tin on that half means that we're going to have a roof over that mill. That's what we're going to get into firstly. Well, we're back up at the property again. We didn't get a lot filmed the other day due to the weather. We thought that was going to be the case, so we kind of raced around, got done what we could. As you can see, we've now got tin on pretty much half of the roof. We screwed up one of these big tarpaulins. That's basically where the big sliding doors will go. So we've got the tarpaulin there, we put up a bit of extra tin. It's really good because now there's actually enough shelter in there for the timber mill and the tractor. The tractor's parked in behind that. Today our plan though is that we want to get some more battens milled up, enough to cover this other half, and then we'll try and get tin on. Now it is a very cloudy day, it's quite cold, and they reckon the rain's coming through, so we'll see how much of that we get done. Hopefully we can get the rest of the roof finished on this today. That would be great if we can. We'll see how we go. So this is the log that we're going to use for cutting the battens. Now we actually cut that out of the big tree that's down there, and we managed to drag it all the way over to here. Now to drag this, because it's so heavy, we actually hooked up the tractor to it. The tractor couldn't get it moved, couldn't get enough grip on the ground. So we hooked up the car to the tractor, and in tandem we managed to pull it to here. Unfortunately we can't get much further because of this big bog right there. It's too heavy for the tractor to lift, so what we're going to do now is we're actually going to slice this in half with the chainsaw. It's going to take a bit of effort, but Cody's just clearing off the bark on the top, and then I'm just going to run a vertical line straight down the center and cut this in half. It's where we would have milled it anyway, and then we can take it up in two pieces to mill it into the battens and boards that we need. As you can see here, we've run the string line. Now we're just going to mark it so we can take the string line away. There we have it. Alright, now that this is all marked up, now we can run the chainsaw and blade bar all the way through it. What are you doing, Diesel? Hey, what are you doing, mate? Diesel's on free roam today, being a good dog. Hey? Alright, well, I've cut most of the way through this log from end to end. Looks like we've got a little bit of rain about to start coming through. Probably taken about 45 minutes to an hour. I've used about 1.5 tanks of fuel in the chainsaw. Now we're just going to see if it's cut through enough that we can actually split it open with the wedges. So we'll see how we go. If not, I'll have to get the chainsaw started up again. Yeah, it's moving and it's cracking. We can hear it creaking and cracking. Almost sounds like light rain on tin. Crick, 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 crick.
The anticipation is real.
So close. No. Alright, so we might need to, we do have one more metal wedge, or we might need to cut some timber wedges. We've got plenty of them up there too, so we'll go see what we can find. We'll get back to this in a second. Alrighty, the good thing about with the timber mill and when you've got uneven logs is you always end up cutting off these off-cut wedges. So we've got 2 of them in. We're going to give this a crack. Hopefully it goes because it is starting to rain. We've got the camera that can't be getting wet.
Get up there. Get up there. Hazel, come here. Dad, down this side. And Nate, you can hit it in. Put it on side. No. Dad. Like over here and then hit it in.
Right.
You won't chip it.
You got to hit the wedge.
Yeah.
Try this one.
I am terrible though.
Okay, this isn't giving up without a fight. We're now filming on Cody's phone because it is starting, like the rain is getting a little bit heavier, but we're determined to get this through before we have some lunch. This crack is so wide I can put my fist in there and it's still not gone. 2/3 of this, probably 3/4 of this is cut all the way through. Look at that. It's just hanging on for this last bit in here. So we're just going to give it a couple more slices. This should fall away. This side shouldn't because we've got it chopped. So I'm going to stay on this side.
Can you lever it with that, Dad?
Hey?
It just wobbled a lot. Can you lever it, split it with the sledgy?
Yeah, it's going to go. You watch.
It's close. There's that big lever bar there as well.
Yeah.
Diesel, come here. Diesel, come here. The other way.
Gonna need a bigger wedge.
Right, so we've just cut another wedge. We'll try this again.
Yeah.
As he nearly falls over.
I was going to
But
say, I didn't realise you were talking. Alrighty.
Alright, let's see. It's cracking again. It's actually splitting down the bottom, so hopefully that stays in one piece. Should we have a swing?
What a bastard! So wide. And it still doesn't want to go. Stubborn bastard.
That's a straight cut too, but it is starting to crack down the bottom here. Hopefully that all stays in one piece. This is quite a large log.
Yeah, the old timers would have done it.
Yep, wedges all the way down. They probably did it with dead wood though. Oh, cracking. Don't know if you can hear that. Ooh. Whoa!
Glove's getting very slippery with the rain.
Yes, it is. I'm not sure if you can see this. This mist is starting to get heavier now as well. Up over the hill. We are forecast for quite a lot of rain coming, but hopefully it stays away while we're working up here today. We might need to cut another wedge. It is so close.
I'd have to be careful of cutting all the way through here, because I've got a big sheet of tin under there. I don't want to hit the tin.
It's going just very slowly. Not sure if you can see that, but just the springiness of this green wood. About every second hit, one hit goes down, the next hit makes it spring back up, which is just a pain.
Now it's cut through almost to the ground there, and then over here.
Can you fit a wedge in the other side of this wood wedge, Doug?
All the way down here. All the way. Just cracked again.
Still cracking. The tension is unbelievable. Just the tension that we have in this green wood. It's the same when we're milling slabs on the timber mill with green wood. When it gets to the very end, you can see the giant bow just from the tension in the wood, just from it just springing back up. so close. In the background you can see Missy getting all tangled up in her rope. I'll go and give her a hand in a second. That's a good idea. Hey, you wanted me to do that earlier.
She's through, thank God.
Phew.
Time for a coffee.
That's for sure. What an effort.
Yes. Well, time out for a cuppa. We've got ourselves reasonably well set up under here now that we've got a roof over our head. Ladder and a plank that we milled makes a nice little shelf. So we can boil up the billy, have a coffee, and the rain's eased off a little bit. If it continues to ease off this afternoon, we'll be able to mill up some of those battens, do a little bit more on the roofing. Otherwise, we'll just head home, we'll do something there. We finally got the log up onto the mill. That was a drama in itself. We dragged it up and down, like around and down the side here. Got the tractor in around, picked it up and then brought it in and dropped it down. Got the bark off it. We've just run the first cut, taken that off. It's got quite cold this afternoon, so we've got a little fire down the back there, boiling up the billy to make another cuppa. It's nice to have that shelter and to be able to do this stuff when the weather's not so great. Once we've got the rest of the roof on, yeah, it's going to be fantastic. But we're on our way now. We've got half of the log up here. We can now mill it. We'll get the battens, and yeah, that's 19 inches thick. The battens that I was cutting were 3 inches by 2 inches, so I only need 6 out of that because that is the full length of what I need. So we'll easily get that out, and then I'll probably start cutting some of the beams that we'll use for the floor, get the floor done eventually. Cody's just tying up a bucket at the bottom there to catch all the sawdust to make it easier rather than us shoveling it up all the time. So we can use that sawdust. Trying to. Well, in the end, we managed to get the battens all cut. There they are. It was certainly a very long and arduous day to get all this done, but we got there in the end. It's now just coming up to 7 PM. It's been a very cold, miserable day too, but at least we've got that done. So when we come up next time, we'll be able to get the battens up and get the rest of the tin put in. We thought this might be an hour or two job, and it's taken us all day, and that seems to happen a lot up here, as you know. So I'm going to wrap up the video here. Again, I hope you've enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Stay safe, have a great weekend. I'll see you next week. Cheers.